Hey everybody, it is your girl here, GenuinelyDivine, coming at you today with a video all about Mars. Today I will go through all 12 zodiac signs and I will tell you what Mars represents in that astrological sign. For those of you who are new to my channel, please click the subscribe button. I would love to have you be a part of the GenuinelyDivine community. And also, you guys, I do upload a video usually every week. If I don't upload on one week, I will double upload on the following week. For those of you who don't know what Mars is the planet of aggression. It is the planet of aggression, war, vitality. This is your action planet. What motivates you, what drives you to do anything in this world. Mars is also referred to as the god of war. This is also a fiery planet. Do you lose your temper really fast, or does it take a lot before you can actually get upset about anything? Mars also governs the sex organs. As a ruler of Scorpio ruling the 8th house is the house of sex, death, and actually Scorpio is the sign that rules the genitals. Mars also rules Aries. Aries is the ruler of the first house. The first house is the house of self. Mars also rules accidents, anger, and conflict. Mars dominance or first house Mars people are usually very, very energetic, and this kind of like plays out throughout their whole life. Mars in Aries. Mars is at home in the zodiac sign of Aries. Here, this person can be very energetic, very bold, very fast moving. Like, they can be extremely aggressive in everything that they do. They can be extremely competitive. Usually when Mars and Aries people are really young, they usually participate in some type of competitive sports, or they're usually really big on sports. And even as they become adults, if they're not in the athletic field, they're usually in the gym a lot. Like, they're very active people. And if they're not, and if you are a Mars and Aries person and you're not active, then you definitely need to be active in your life, because if you're not active, sometimes you can feel like you're really like tired, or just not like something is missing. So you definitely will have to be active in your life. Your body is telling you that you need to be active. Sometimes you may feel like you don't feel good, but there's something inside of you that wants you to burn energy, but you may just ignore it. That's your Mars and Aries trying to tell you to move your body. You need to move, okay? Mars and Aries people tend to be super confident. Like, they just seem that way. And even if they are not super confident, they just come off as being really confident. So if you meet a person that seems really confident, they're probably an Aries in some type of way. Especially a Mars and Aries person. These people tend to be extremely honest, and they can go from 0 to 100 really, really fast when something happens in their life. So they can get really angry. They can get mad really quickly. So yeah, you don't want to mess with Mars and Aries people, because they're very aggressive. They can be. They're usually very friendly people, but if you push the right buttons or the wrong buttons, they will go off in 0 to 100 really quick, but they calm down just as fast as they got upset. When it comes to the bedroom scene for Mars and Aries people, they're usually very quick. And that's usually because Aries rules the first house, the house of self. So sometimes Mars and Aries people can be really selfish and only thinking about themselves, but usually Mars and Aries people, as they get older, they tend to kind of like, you know, like not be so quick anymore. They usually think about their partners and not just themselves. So they can be very passionate love makers. They can be, you know, extremely energetic and give a lot of energy when it comes to the bedroom scene. So they're really good partners in the bedroom, especially when you can get them to just slow down just a little bit. Mars and Taurus. Mars and Taurus people, they just tend to be very slow, very steady, you know, like they're usually very focused on material possessions and money. They're like extremely driven by these things, so they like to have really nice things, and that's what motivates them the most, is having nice things. But they're not really fast-paced moving, they're just really slow people, you know. Just kind of like when you think about the bull, you're kind of like think about Taurus, and you're like, okay, Taurus people are like, okay, somewhat lazy. Like they don't have a lot of energy. A lot of times they don't look like they have a lot of energy. So when it comes to their lovemaking, they're usually just very sensual, you know, or just very, you know, creative to a certain extent with being slow and steady, but it works out for them. They're usually very good lovers. However, though, sometimes they can just kind of like be really stubborn and just not wanting to take advice from anyone else. So if you are involved with a Mars and Taurus person and they're just like really slow to getting to the good parts, you may not want to try and tell them to do anything, because that just may make them go even slower, because they are just really, you know, stuck in their own way of doing things. They're very traditional people, so a lot of times they just really don't want anything to move really fast. They really want to be able to indulge in anything that they're doing, because this is a sign of indulgence. And so with that being said, Mars and Taurus people, they just don't want to rush anything in their life. So Mars and Taurus people, is very difficult to really piss them off, but once they get pissed off, it's just not going to be a really pretty sight, and they can be extremely aggressive, and just, I mean, they can become very violent. So I just would not push any wrong buttons on a Mars and Taurus person. Mars and Gemini people are usually very intelligent people, because Gemini is an air sign which rules the mind, so they're very intelligent. They're usually very quick to respond with really good answers or good solutions to problems. They're like really fast with that. But when it comes to lovemaking, Mars and Gemini people tend to have better sex in their heads than they actually do in the physical world. Like, it's like, okay, a lot of times their mind is so active and so bold. It's like they can just create these scenarios in their head, and it's like, it's so amazing. And then when they actually try to live it out in reality, it doesn't always seem to be the same thing. And because of that, sometimes Mars and Gemini people may have a lot of different affairs, you know, like moving from one partner to the next, because sometimes they just don't really know exactly what it is that they're searching for, because what they've concocted in their mind, they're just not really finding that or feeling that in reality. So sometimes they just, you know, swing back and forth, and just not really wanting to commit to anyone for sure, because they are extremely adventurous, you know, like they need to explore, they need to find out what this world has to offer. So they can be involved in many different affairs and marriages. Mars and Gemini people tend to have a voice that is either very touching or it can be very irritating, one or the other. I mean, I can just see Mars and Gemini people being really great speakers, because they do rule the communication house. So I can just really see them being really good speakers. Mars and Cancer people come off as having little to no drive, you know, like they seem to just like be this emotional person who really just don't have a clue of what to do or how to go about in this world. And every time they are faced with a situation, they just seem to be the crybaby of the zodiac. But in all actuality, Mars and Cancer people are really strong. You know, they tend to, when they cry, a lot of times is because they are so powerful and they don't want to actually do anything that they will regret. Their tears are actually a calming agent for them, to calm them down so that they don't, you know, get involved in any type of serious conflicts that can land them in jail or in a bad place. You know, I'm not sure, but I just know that Mars and Cancer people, when it comes to love making, a lot of times they're just very emotional. They really attach themselves 100% when it comes to that. But also Mars and Cancer people are very intuitive, so they know when someone is all in or if if they're not in at all. And then sometimes they can pull away. If you feel your Mars and Cancer person pulling away from you when you having bedroom pleasures, then it's because they have sensed that you're not all the way in, or you don't care for them in that special way. So sometimes they can just be just a little bit too intuitive, you know, and so it can really interfere with their sexual performance a lot of times. So that's really important if you're in a relationship with a Mars and Cancer person. You know, make sure your mind is clear and make sure your mind is on your Mars and Cancer person, because they will be able to pick it up that you're not actually into them. Okay, Mars and Cancer people, they tend to hold on to relationships though. That's what I've noticed about Mars and Cancer people. They do tend to hold on to relationships that no longer serves them. I mean, in no type of way. But because Cancer is a sign of, you know, the home and things that are familiar, sometimes they don't want to break away because they are familiar with the person that they're with. So Mars and Cancer people, sometimes you don't know, you have to know how to really read them. But a lot of times they only respond with aggression when it comes to matters of their emotions, and it usually is done through love affairs. Any other time, they're usually very calm and collected in many situations, you know? Mars and Leo, these are the unordinary people, okay? They tend to do what they say they're gonna do, and they say what they mean. A lot of times Mars and Leo people, they just grab the attention of other people so easily. It's like without any, like, effortlessly, they just grab the attention of other people, and people just really love watching Mars and Leo people in action. It's like, okay, of course, Leos are just like they're just like the people, they're just these lions, right, that everybody wants to see and just love to see them. Like, the women are so graceful, like the way they walk, or just the way they carry themselves in such a regal manner, so people are just like drawn to watch them. The men are usually so good looking, and you're like, oh my god, they're so handsome, or whatever the case may be, and it's like you're just drawn to them in some type of way. Mars and Leo people can be extremely dramatic when it comes to the bedroom scene, because, you know, these are the performers, they are the entertainers, so they can actually be the type of people that fix up their bedroom where they have like the stripper pole. They can actually have mirrors in the ceilings. They can have lights, like flashing lights. I mean, they can just go all out. Whatever you can think of that could be dramatic can definitely be seen from a Mars and Leo, or expected from a Mars and Leo person. If a Mars and Leo person is not going all out to make the bedroom scene all dramatic and things like that, then they're just doing something, they're just like not really interested. But usually Mars and Leo people usually will deck the scene. Everything is going to be like in a movie. You know, when you're watching a movie and it's like you see the woman, like the room is like all fancy, it's like so extravagant, and then the woman comes out in these elegant lingerie and just so fabulous, and it's like a scene in the movie, then that's usually what you will find, or what you will get from a Mars and Leo person when it comes to the bedroom scene. Mars and Leo people are usually very lucky when it comes to gambling and speculation, because they do rule the 5th house. The 5th house is the house of gambling and speculation, so usually they're very lucky. Now, if you have a damaged Mars, then maybe not so lucky. It can be the opposite of that. So I'm not telling you to go out and gamble. I'm just saying that they're usually really lucky in endeavors such as gambling and speculation. Mars and Virgo. Mars and Virgo people are usually very systematic people. Like, they usually are motivated by systems. Like, they have to have a system for basically everything that they do. So they really operate like that, which just makes them so controlled, and they're very organized to a certain extent. I feel like Mars and Virgo people are extremely organized. Like, they always have a system for everything that they do. They may have a system for how they put their toothbrush or their toothpaste, you know, like, or they may have a system of how they, you know, they have routine. Basically, they always have a routine for almost everything that they do in their life. They set these routines and they work by that system in everything they do, and they're very detail oriented type people. They are aggressively detailed oriented, and they hate it when people move things out of place. Like, if something's like moved out of place, they can kind of like really know, even if it was just moved a little bit, because they do pay attention to details and they may get upset. So if you're dating a Mars and Virgo person and you mess with their stuff, they will know that you touched it, and then they may get pissed and then they may, you know, like, you know, confront you about it, and you may feel like, well, what, this is no big deal, what's the problem? But it's a major problem for them, because they like for their things to be orderly, and that's just very important to them. And that's when they can become combative, when you mess up their routine. So do not mess with a Mars and Virgo's routine, okay? That's important. Don't do that. Mars and Virgo people, when it comes to the bedroom scene, they usually want to stimulate their minds as well as their bodies, and they want that for themselves, and they will do the same for you. Mars and Virgo people are the undercover freaks. Like, they, on the surface, you will never guess that a Mars and Virgo person is so like sexual, like they're so down to do all these things in the bedroom. But in all actuality, Mars and Virgo people can be that way, because Mars and Virgo people can definitely separate themselves from their emotions, so they can just really get down and dirty when they need to be. And so that's a really good trait, and it can also be a negative trait. So, you know. Mars and Libra. Mars and Libra people tend to fight for justice. They're like extremely big on fighting for justice. Like, these are people who love peace and they love harmony, so they can be aggressive about having that or gaining that into their life. So they are also motivated by fairness. They like for people to be treated fairly. They will actually go against anyone when it's time for a Mars and Libra person to be fair. They can usually choose, they don't choose sides just because you're their family or whoever you are. They just really just look at the whole situation and what's fair. And that's a really good trait, but at the same token, it can make the person that they're in a relationship with feel like they're not on their side, but they don't really see sides, they just see fairness. Mars and Libra people, when it comes to the bedroom scene, they usually always find a mate that they're not happy with when it comes to sexual relationships, mainly because Mars and Libra people, Libra ruling the relationship house, they like to be in relationships, but at the same token, they may not always get everything they need in that relationship. And for some odd reason, that bedroom pleasures are usually lacking for Mars and Libra people who are married or in long-term relationships. A lot of times that's usually the results for Mars and Libra people. Mars and Libra people, they love beauty, they love the arts. I mean, these people can be extremely talented, or they can just really be someone who work in the beauty field. You know, they may, and if they don't work in the beauty field or doing something that beautifies the world or create peace and harmony, then they need to be looking into doing that, because they probably will not be happy or motivated to go to their jobs that they do have that does not consist of them creating something beautiful or being a part of something that is beautiful. That is just really important for Mars and Libra people. I can just see them just wanting to do that. Even if they were on a job that they just don't love, they're gonna find a way to beautify that job somehow or some way. Another thing about Mars and Libra people, they're always aggressively searching for relationships with emotional ties. And I mean, that is just a forever, never-ending thing for Libra people in general, but this is just a never-ending, forever going thing for Libra people, especially Mars and Libra people. Mars and Scorpio. Persistence and intensity. Those are the two words that comes to mind when I think about Mars and Scorpio people. They're very persistent in their pursuits of finding love or doing anything in their life. They're just very persistent. When it comes to their love, you know, or love making, it can be very intense for them. And I just feel like Mars and Scorpio people are extremely quarrelsome. I guess you would say they're messy. You know, like they keep up mess in the relationship a lot of times. Like they can start arguments based off their intuition, which their intuition is really strong and very powerful. But sometimes I feel like they just kind of like start trouble. like for no apparent reason. And I just feel like if you don't have evidence and it's only something that's in your mind, then I just don't feel like you should start drama or problems in your relationship. But Mars and Scorpio people, they tend to feel like it's okay to do this. A lot of times they are attracted to things like that because it turns them on when they're getting angry, or someone's getting angry with them and being aggressive with them, or you know, however, they just really get turned on by things like this. So if you're dating a Mars and Scorpio person and they tend to just like start fights, and then the next thing you know you're in the bedroom, then just know that they really like this. This is a turn on for them. So just go with the flow and just learn how they are, and just kind of like go with the flow if that's what you like and it's okay with you. But if it's not, then this probably wouldn't be a relationship for you, because they are going to always be this way. You're not going to change them. This is a fixed sign, so they don't change their minds, and they don't change for other people. They just do what they feel is right. Okay, Mars and Scorpio people are usually attracted to like danger or death, you know, or they like situations or maybe professions that deal with danger or death. So a lot of Mars and Scorpio people can be like police officers, they can be members of the military, they can also be like doctors or RNs or just whatever, you know, nurses. They can just do a number of things, or they can actually work for a mortuary, or they can actually, you know, own a mortuary, whatever the case may be. They can just really be, you know, like they could really like things like that. Or when it comes to their bedroom or in their love making, they can actually want to play games that can actually be dangerous and other people will probably not think of, or they can just be really aggressive in the bedroom that can actually lead to you know, some type of injury, or it could also result in death, you know. But whatever the case may be, Mars and Scorpio people can be just very intense when it comes to love making. So they're usually a special kind of person, so anything that's dealing with taboo things in the bedroom, that's what they want to do. So if that's not what you're into, Mars and Scorpio person just really just, oh my god, they're just, you know, that's just what they do. Okay, so be careful with that. Mars and Sagittarius people, they tend to make marvelous first impressions. Like when you first meet these people, you're like, oh my god, wow, this is the most amazing person I've ever met in my whole life. But in all actuality, you know, they're just like really fun-loving people who really love their freedom, and they aggressively fight for their freedom. You know, they don't like to commit in relationships, so emotional commitments is like almost out of the question for a Mars and Sagittarius person, because Sagittarius really is a freedom-loving sign. They just really want to be able to explore and to be adventurous in a relationship. Sagittarius is polar opposite to Gemini, so they have similar traits, which means that they like to explore, they like to not miss out on anything. When you're in a committed relationship, a lot of times you do miss out on things. So Mars and Sagittarius people, they just don't want to tie themselves down with any one person. Not saying that they will never, you know, get to that point, but usually, especially when they're really young, they just don't want to be tied down in a relationship. Mars and Sagittarius people, they can be extremely quick and witty when it comes to their mind, especially with their speech and their writing. They're usually really good at that. A lot of times, like Mars and Sagittarius people, I can just see them when they were in school or something. They probably was doing something they had no business doing, but when the teacher called their name or something, they probably was like, they knew exactly what answer to give. They gave the correct answer, you know, because they're just like really smart people ruling the house of higher intelligence, you know, the ninth house. So yeah, they're usually just really smart, and they can really produce like good quality work in a very short amount of time. So they don't need a lot of time to, you know, express whatever it is they need to express, or to get things done, whatever needs to be done. So I just really think that's a really great quality for Mars and Sagittarius people. So I just really like, I love Mars and Sagittarius people because I do love their sense of freedom and understanding of life. A lot of times when it comes to their temper, Sagittarius people can have a quick hot temper. Okay, this is a fire sign, and most fire signs, there's just like, they can just easily get upset, you know, but at the same token, they can easily calm down just the same. But the thing with Mars and Sagittarius people, when they get upset, a lot of times they can be very volatile. Like, oh my God, I just don't feel like you should, you know, make a Mars and Sagittarius person really angry, because if they're not committing some type of violence towards another person, they will actually do it to themselves. Like, Mars and Sagittarius people can be the type of people that can actually injure themselves when they get really upset, because sometimes they may feel like they just gotta hit something, they just gotta do something to get that frustration out, and sometimes it's not in the most constructive way. So Mars and Sagittarius people, if I could give you a little bit of advice, you need to really try to meditate. Like, whenever you get really upset, instead of hitting something or hitting yourself or cutting yourself or doing anything to yourself, you need to really just meditate and just really take a moment to think about, what are you actually angry about, and what is it worth for you to hurt yourself, others, or anything else. And I think that's really important for you guys to really try to find a way to calm that temper. Of course, when it comes to the bedroom, this is a fire sign. They can be extremely passionate in their lovemaking, but at the same token, they can also be very adventurous in the bedroom, wanting to possibly bring others into the bedroom scene. Mars and Capricorn people are usually motivated by success. These people will get up every freaking morning on time. They are very structured, kind of like the Virgo, but they just don't have a whole bunch of systems or whatever. They just really just naturally work in their own way of, you know, having structure in their life. They're usually so focused on attaining or achieving success in their life. They're just like, always, they have a natural clock or a natural timer in their head where they get up on time, you know, they get to work on time, they do a really awesome job. These people are all about structure, and they are aggressively seeking, you know, the knowledge that they need to rise to the top of their field. They have the ability to endure all obstacles, but at the same token, not losing focus on their desires, and that is to achieve ultimate success in this lifetime. Capricorn is polar opposite to Cancer. So Cancer, like the ruling the fourth house is all about the, you know, in the home. Capricorn ruling the 10th house is outside of the home. And Capricorn people tend to want to become bosses or owners of their own businesses, entrepreneurs. Mars and Capricorn people, when it comes to the bedroom scene, they can be very passionate and earthy, or they can just be cold and detached in the bedroom. It all depends on what they're focusing on at that particular moment that you are in the bedroom. These people are so structured that they have all of this self-control, that they can control what they give out in the bedroom and what they hold in. So for those of you who are dating a Mars and Capricorn person, and then you're like kind of confused, because sometimes it's like the lovemaking is extremely passionate, and then other times it's like just so cold and just like dry, and you're like what is it, you know? Don't worry yourself so much about it, because a lot of times Mars and Capricorn people are just usually focused on whatever it is that they're focused on, and they have great self-control. The thing about Mars and Capricorn people that I've noticed is that at some point in time in their life, they've had like a secret love affair with an older person. You know, like, I just feel like Mars and Capricorn people, because they are so aggressive a lot of times, and they're so structured, and they have such control, like they're so mature, it's like they, at some point in time, like people their own age, they don't always, like, you know, like, I don't know what to say. Like, I just feel like they don't always, you know, like fit the bill for a Mars and Capricorn person, and they feel like they need to be with someone older. But of course, they're all about status, so sometimes they don't always put it on display. A lot of times it will just be that secret love affair for them. I mean, like, if you guys have this placement and, you know, you have dated someone older, but, you know, you did not have it, it wasn't for the public to see, comment down below and let me know, because I would really like to know, because I think this is very interesting. I just know that Saturn is a slow moving, old, mature planet, and to have Mars here, the aggression and actually your action planet, I just definitely can see you guys having a secret love affair with someone older. So let me know in the comment section. Mars in Aquarius. Mars in Aquarius people are extremely people oriented. Like, these are like really friendly people. Like, I mean, if you meet someone that's really friendly, they're probably a Mars in Aquarius person. Like, they are so nice. A lot of times they're like very talkative. Like, they don't meet strangers. Like, these are the people who are in the grocery stores and they're like turning around, talking and having full-fledged conversation with people that they've never met before, and they're just really enjoying the conversation. Aquarius is an air sign, so air is all about the intellect and is all about, you know, communication. So yeah, with Mars and Aquarius people, that's what they do. They like to commit to things, but they only commit when they are like all the way like intellectually committed, you know, into anything. They like to commit themselves to things that has a purpose, not just something just to do. A lot of times they like to express their individuality. They're usually always fighting for their freedom to express who they are, expressing their individuality. These people are usually high-strung and extremely unpredictable, so you never know what you're gonna get from a Mars and Aquarius person. And they're also confused themselves. A lot of times they don't know exactly what they want, you know. So when it comes to bedroom pleasures, they can swing back and forth. They can be a little bit confused on sexuality, like which way they would like to go or what they will want to do. A lot of times, because these are the rebels of the zodiac and they don't live inside of a box, they live outside of the box. This is also a futuristic sign, so they're all about, you know, creating things. You know, these are the innovators. They like to create new ways of doing things, so they don't want to do things like, you know, the social norms. They want to step outside of that and do something different, you know. So when it comes to relationships, a lot of times they're like non-committal in relationships because they're not exactly sure what they want in a relationship. So sometimes they can be extremely passionate when it comes to the bedroom scene, or they can be extremely detached, you know. Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn, just like Capricorn, but Aquarius is also ruled by Uranus. So Uranus and Saturn, they can just give like this sporadic behavior, where Capricorn is just really steady with their behavior. However, Aquarius a lot of times is just more of a sporadic, you know, up and down type situation. They just never know which way to go, so they just kind of like swing back and forth like a pendulum. Like, they just never know what is going to happen today. Today they may be dancing in the sky, and then tomorrow they just may be a professor, you know. This is always like changing. They have sporadic behavior. So Mars and Aquarius people, a lot of times they just don't anger really quickly. I just really have never seen a Mars and Aquarius person angry. Not saying that they don't, because everyone gets angry at some point in time, but Mars and Aquarius people, to me, they're just so into themselves a lot. Like, they just don't really focus on what people are saying, and a lot of times they just like let it roll off of them. Like, it doesn't matter, because, you know, they just don't care. They kind of like have a great understanding of people, because these are the humanitarians, so they do understand the needs of human nature. So I think that when they do get upset, I just can see them being, you know, just really argumentative or just talking a lot, because they do talk a lot. But I just don't really see them as being really violent people. Maybe they can be, but I just really don't see them as being violent people. So yeah, with that being said, Mars and Aquarius people, for me, any advice that I can give you guys would just be to, you know, like find a way or find a path and try and stick with it. It's okay to be innovative and creative, and you know, create new ways of doing things, or creating new things to help us to become a greater place, and creating new things to help the world to become greater as a whole. And that's amazing, but at the same token, sometimes you can be a little bit too all over the place, and it's just like, for some people it can just be just a little bit too much. So just keep that in mind. Mars in Pisces. When it comes to Mars and Pisces people, these people are extremely emotional. These people are extremely spiritual also, because Pisces is the last sign, of course, and you know, it rules the 12th house, and the 12th house is the house of spirituality. So with that being said, these people can be very emotional. I mean, they can express themselves like really strongly. Like they can have really deep passions when it comes to love making. I just noticed one thing about Mars and Pisces people is that they love to have sex outside. They just love it so much. Like they're just like, it's just like, I mean, if you're dating a Mars and Pisces person and you're like, you guys never did it outside, and they probably would say, oh, I will never do that. But if you can get them to do it, they will probably just become their greater self. I mean, because this is just something like really beautiful for them. And Mars and Pisces people, they tend to just love, you know, nature. They love the water, and especially if it's near the water, oh my god, it would just be amazing for them. Mars and Pisces people, they tend to, at some point in time in their life, they tend to suffer some type of disappointment in love, where they actually gave their all in the relationship. They gave their whole self in the relationship, and then the relationship possibly failed, and then they will probably love this person for the rest of their life. But however, whichever, they usually do get over it to a point where they can live their life again. But however, they're just like, they will always remember that person that they loved, and they will always have that love in their heart, and they will probably always think about that love and what it could have been. Mars and Pisces people tend to meet very influential people in their lifetime, and they tend to gain from them monetarily. Like people always want to help Mars and Pisces people. They all, like, all kinds of doors open for Mars and Pisces people without them even doing anything special. And then, you know, it's just like things just happen for Mars and Pisces people because they are just that special. But you know, when it comes to them getting angry, Mars and Pisces people, well, when they get angry, first of all, it's very difficult to make a Mars and Pisces person angry, because a lot of times they're not really focusing on what people have going on in reality. A lot of times they're like in their own world somewhere, you know, and they're just not really paying attention to the people around them. But when they do get angry, they can actually be very, you know, very vindictive. This is a water sign, just like Scorpio and Cancer, so they can be very vindictive. They can be very manipulative. But I don't feel like Mars and Pisces people would be the type of person that will hold a grudge, although they can hold grudges. You have to do something really bad to a Mars and Pisces person for you to see that ugly side of Pisces, okay? Like, yeah, it would have to be really bad. For the most part, Mars and Pisces people, to me, they're just amazing creatures. They're just amazing people, and they're extremely loving. They're extremely kind. They're usually the type of people, they will do anything to help someone, and a lot of times it's without even asking questions. They're just very helpful people. And I think yeah, the world should have more Mars and Pisces people. Yeah, you guys, like really that's all I have for the Mars placement. For those of you who have questions you would like for me to answer, please visit my social media, Instagram, and DM me your question, because I will be doing a video very soon and answering all of your questions. Yeah, please don't forget to like and to subscribe to my channel and to share my content. With that being said, you guys, that's all I have for you, and until the next time, I wish you so much love, peace, and many wonderful blessings. Bye. Oh, hold on, you guys, there is this bug here. It's like really scary. I don't even come back here that much. Okay. Sorry, but